You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Show on a Friday evening. My name is Kerry Greenaway and as always on a Friday I'm joined by the likely lads in the studio with me. Mr. Carl Hutchinson, yeah, Mr. Carl's with me.
Good evening, how are you?
I know. And Mr. Marcus Manlius is in the where are we? We're in the studio, aren't we guys? You're in the studio, yeah. Mark. Hello, Mark. Oh, it's going to go so well tonight, I can tell.
Hello. It's Friday Night Frolics on the Dark Mirror Show.
It's of the paranormal world. Look at it. Oh, my God, it's Elmer Batty. Oh.
I feel like we should start again. Is that where I think we should go with this? I think we should start again.
Shall we try again, shall we? Shall we try that again, shall we?
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show. My name is Kerry Greenaway and tonight I'm joined in the studio by my lovely Carl Hutchinson. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Kerry. It's like deja vu.
Oh, all over again. And Mr. Mark Manley. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening. How the very devil are you there, Mrs. Batty?
We're off again already. Right, so tonight I saw a video this week and it was by a guy called Matthew Santoro who put a video out. And he put out the 10 scariest games. Now, this obviously, you can imagine what this did for me. I got all excited about this one, guys. Did you watch it?
I did. Yeah. I watch his videos quite a lot because he does very, very, he does a lot better top 10s than I do. He does some very good top 10s, but I saw this last week sometime. I was watching it some late at night, and let's just say they're interesting.
One of the I've only seen up to halfway, and to be absolutely honest, I was shattered when I watched it, and I just went, "Do you know what? So, but I've got to say, if I go, that is what a certain game is based on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. Well. Out of all of the games that he listed in this top 10, I'd only heard of one of them.
I'd heard of out of the top 10, I'd heard about 3 or 4, but there were combinations of other games. I didn't know them by the names he called them. No. But obviously, the famous one that he was covering was one that I knew very straight off the bat.
Straight off the bat or straight off the Batty Man or the Nora Batty? I'm not sure, but something to do.
Any of the combinations that you've got there, Mark.
You know what? Next time I see Mr. Manley, I'm going to just slap him one. I'm not even going to say hello. I'm just going to punch him on the nose.
You're not going to say hello to me. You're just going to slap me.
He's getting his own back for you calling him Gruffalo.
Yeah, but trust me, he actually did sound like a proper Gruffalo.
You should have heard my voice last week. Oh, no, it was down there, wasn't it? It was like...
Yeah. I almost sent you a video to both you and Kerry today, but I knew it probably wouldn't have gone down too well, which I'll post it to you after the show.
Right,
but he's got a week for us to calm down.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll find it funny, Kerry. Mark might have a sense of humour failure when I send it to you.
See what goes on behind the scenes, guys, on the Dark Mirror team. Constant ribbing of each other. So anyway, Mark, how many did you know out of the list? He's breaking up, Carl. What is going on with him?
It's the Gremlins again. It's the Friday Night Gremlins.
It's every bloody week.
How's that? Is that any better?
That's better.
Yeah, there you go.
So 3 out of the the half I saw, I've definitely heard about 3 or 4 of them, but I've heard of them under different names. So I think in different countries they must be known as different stuff.
Oh yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly. So
it is very Americanized, some of the names.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it made me think, actually, which is always dangerous, right?
God,
See, I was thinking, well, you know, what paranormal games have we played in our time? And I'm not. I don't want to. And I'll tell you one game I don't want to talk about tonight because we've talked about it a lot, which is the Ouija board, which is like obviously a game. So we're not allowed to talk about the Ouija board.
You did say Ouija board. That's good because the internet cut out as you said Ouija board, and it literally came through to my earpiece as the Willy board, and I was looking at the camera like, did she just say that? You games that us blokes haven't.
I've definitely not played one of those games.
I've not played the Willy board either. No, I don't think my missus has either. Have you? Oh, she's not going to tell me. No, possibly she has.
Anyway, let's get on to topic. So, what games have we played then? I have to say, the one that I say played. It's not really a game, but one of the ones that we did was there's a famous church near where I live, and the old run around the church 3 times and you'll come across the devil or something like that. There's variations on that. So I've done that one. Didn't meet the devil. Didn't get possessed or anything like that. What about you guys?
To be truthfully honest, the same game. There happens to be an abandoned church literally not even 3 minutes walk from my house, where urban myths, legends is that on a full moon, if you run round it 3 times, and each time you call out the devil when you pass the front door, on the 3rd time round, the devil will appear and you'll be taken into the church and you'll disappear.
Poof, like a puff of smoke.
Yeah, nothing happened.
No, strange that.
But that's like the old joke, isn't it? A gay bar walks into a wizards only club and disappears with a puff. Right, what was I saying? There he goes. Carl's gone.
Wow. It's definitely Friday night when we're talking about that.
Do you know who said that joke? Ian McKellen.
Anyway, moving swiftly on.
What games have you played? Non-sexual or jokey-fied, Mark?
The only things I've ever done is when you were little and you were growing up and it was that's the old haunted house, a day to go in there. I've done that, and I've done I shouldn't be talking about it now, but there's a certain famous post house hotel somewhere in Surrey, and when that was being built, I was there to go in there and clamber around up in the loft and stuff, and I did.
That's not really a game. That's called breaking an entry, Mark.
No. I think it was just misspent youth.
Still a criminal offence, Mark.
Gary.
You always wonder what's going to come out of his mouth next, Carl. It's like...
I do wonder.
We don't know if it's going to be euphemism, a swear word, or a complete cock-up.
Or basically a confession to a crime.
Or live on air.
I
was a child, the years of doing LSD when I was 5 years old, it plays havoc, to tell you.
Oh my God, now he's been taking drugs at 5 years old. It's like...
Good God. Just, ladies and gentlemen,
anyway, let's move swiftly on.
Let's go back to paranormal games, shall we? Before you dig yourself an even bigger hole.
Anybody in the chat room that is a lawyer, maybe Mark might need him shortly. So if you'd like to get in contact with Mr. Mark Manley on social media, he might be needing your assistance at some point.
Oh, don't talk about needing lawyers in the paranormal field. That seems to be a vogue at the moment that's going around.
Mark, you're breaking up again.
Said you'll have people being offended and typing in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's nothing new either. Right, paranormal games, Mark. Have you actually played any other than breaking and entering and taking LSD at the age of 5?
I've done a Ouija board in a garage with friends. Oh, I'll tell you what, they say it's not a paranormal game, but it actually is. Spin the bottle. Because that, although it's only a child's game, that was derived from an old paranormal thingy. What's it? Hoojima Flip.
Kind of don't think it's a child's game either. I've only known that as a drinking game.
Kind of, you filthy minx.
I've only known it as a drinking game.
No! Did you never play that as a kid?
I never played Spin the Bottle when I was a kid.
Not as a paranormal game, I haven't.
No.
Go to the same parties as myself.
I think you didn't get the memo on tonight's show, Carl.
I met today.
Anyway,
you were saying?
I honestly thought tonight was going to be like a straightforward talk about this, but no, Mark is really opening up tonight, folks.
He certainly is. I don't think he actually got the memo on what the show was actually about tonight. Do you, Carl?
No, I don't think so.
My antidepressants have kicked in. I'm on Turtle Beach somewhere.
Oh, my God. Anyway, okay, so let's have a look at some of the games that Matthew Santoro, I hope I'm saying his name right for a start, Santoro?
Yeah, that's how I would say it as well.
Yeah, look at some of the games that he played. Now, the first one I kind of would like to have a look at is, it's a strange one. It's called Daruma-san.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this he said that this is actually like if you've ever played Red Light, Green Light, it's a bit like that.
Yes.
Not quite sure.
And it's a Japanese one.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where he got that analogy from, the red light, green light. But, hey-ho. Because apparently...
When you go like that and somebody shouts red light, stop, green light, you can move. But you have to try and catch the person, don't you? And they shout red light, green light.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, you sit in a bath, you wash your hair with your eyes closed, and you say, Daruma-san fell down. And you say that while you're doing that. And then he apparently appears to you. And then the next day, you have a presence that...
allegedly drowned in the bathtub, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Apparently, the next day it follows you. The presence follows you. And if it catches up, you can just shout Tamare. I just imagine doing this at work. They think I'm absolutely bonkers. They think I'm bonkers anyway, but, you know, a little bit more bonkers.
I say Tamara.
Tamara, will you stop us? Stop stalking me, Tamara. Or Tamaray, I think it was actually. And then if it catches you, then you say, I cut you loose and make a chopping motion with your hand. That's the essential part of the game.
Mark, your internet's cutting out again, so I think it might be that because you're on video as well, so...
Is that better?
That's a lot better.
It's always better when your camera's not on.
Let's go and flip yourselves, yes.
Right, yeah. This is the thing about this game, Kerry, which kind of like that was one of the games that I just didn't quite understand the whole concept of like you washing your hair and then you say this. And
yeah, I didn't get that.
I just didn't get it. I just didn't get that game.
There was quite a few actually on the list that I didn't really get.
In
all honesty, to be fair, but that's why I thought we'd discuss them. I can't see the point of it.
A lot of them remind me of, you know, when you see these American teeny horror movies and it all starts with some sort of game. A lot of them reminds me of stuff from that.
Yeah. Like I said, most of his lists are quite Americanized, and I think that probably if we had Jay Lynch in the studio, he would probably recognise more on that list than we do. We're only just taking them involved from the stuff that we do in the UK. Obviously, the Halloween and the paranormal side of things, particularly around the Halloween period, is so big in America. I think a lot of these are probably played, say, like at band camp.
There's one.
At band camp or camp like that, or what are those things that where parents just ship you off to when you go and live in the woods for a couple of weeks?
You had an extended childhood, didn't you, Carl? And I thought me and the LSD at 5 years old. Oh, well.
Exactly, at band camp. But yeah, I think a lot of those were probably played around the campfire, or the stories get told around the campfire.
Is it campfire where other people run around shouting YMCA and singing it, or is that the totally wrong source of campfire?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Confused.
I thought you might.
He's gone off on a tangent again in his brain. I don't know what he's going on about now.
Campfire. Oh, just.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Now, if you're talking about Jay Lynch, he's probably done all of these games.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I'm pretty sure he's probably done every single one of them.
And
more than once. Yeah. Well, he's all right. I was talking to him earlier.
Questionable whether or not he's all right.
Yeah. He's a lovely guy, but questionable whether he's okay.
Come on.
So, anyway, this one I just didn't see the point of, that you just wanted the presents to follow you, and then it's like, you have to like catch them over your shoulder and stuff like that. And it seems quite it just seems like a freak yourself out zone, really, more than anything else. Because if you imagine something strong enough, then it will happen anyway. So if you've done this kind of thing, and you then feel a presence following you, and you've got to keep looking over your shoulder. It goes like, you'd look like a more of a weirdo than we already are, walking down the street or living your life.
Didn't understand a word that.
No, neither did I.
Anybody in the chat room that actually understand Mark's last comments, please put it in the chat room, because I haven't got a clue.
I said you could make you end up looking like a presenter of the Dark Mirror show.
That's better. We actually heard that one that time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, the one that was number 10 on the list was the Ghost Paper Game.
Yeah.
Yes. That's now, also an old thing that
I have to say, on this one, if this actually did happen, this would freak you the hell out. Right, because what you do is basically you light a candle. It's always in the dark with a candle, everybody. All of these games, pretty generic, dark candle.
Yep.
And you sit one side of the door, and then you basically write a question on a piece of paper, slide it under the door.
And you can have a friend with you.
And then, if the spirit's there and wants to answer it, you'll write back and then push it back under the door. Kind of what I got from that.
Yeah.
So what happens? What happens? Sorry, I've just had an idea. What happens if, as you're playing this game as a kid, your mum decides she's going to start tidying up the room the other side of the door, and she sees a piece of paper come through and goes and whips it out of your hand as it's coming through the door? You'd shart yourself and run screaming from the house.
Yeah, which I think a lot of it is to do with that. It's to do with the whole mind suggestion of what potentially could happen.
I like to deliberately do that to my children, just to have them have therapy when they're older.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those gifts that you give to your children.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, this is true, but I would say that if you're going to do this, you maybe do it in an empty house, so you can't have this kind of scenario where someone scars you for life.
But I must admit, because that's kind of what we do in the paranormal industry when we do, say, auto writing, and we do the talking board, or we ask questions, EVPs, etc. like that. We're looking for an answer. So technically, it's probably a form of what we do currently in the paranormal field. We're looking for an answer to come back. But I must admit, if I was a kid and I wrote a question, pushed it under the door, and it came back with somebody else's writing, and I know nobody's the other side of the door, yeah, there would be a me-sized shape hole wherever for an exit.
Scooby-Doo spinning around on the spot from the G-force.
You would be kind of freaked out a little bit or you could freak other people out because you would obviously write the question. You could actually write a response back, like in a different handwriting, push it under the door, open the door, and get one of your friends, and then there's an answer there, or freak them out.
Or beforehand, write it in lemon juice, the answers, because you can't see it. Then write the question, shove it in, pull it out, and you've got a candle there, and you just hold it over the candle without setting fire to it, and that sets off the lemon juice, and you'll see the answer magically appear on the paper.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Or you could get your friend to hide behind the other door without the other mate knowing, and just have lots of fun winding them up.
Yeah, I like we said, I think a lot of these games that the guy talks about on his top 10, I think a lot of them have a psychological fear factor definitely. What potentially could happen.
Yeah, no, they definitely do.
That's the fear, isn't it? It's the fear of doing it. Because I remember playing like Bloody Mary when I was younger, which is the one I knew out of this list, And it was like the guts to do it in the first place. The fact that the chances are nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had to I kind of did the Bloody Mary at Heathrow Airport when I picked her up for Sage Paragon. I had to shout Bloody Mary across the arrivals hall.
Did you do it 3 times though, Carl?
No, I did it. I did it once, and then people were like looking at me thinking, why is this nutter shouting Bloody Mary? And then I thought, because I didn't know, because I was given a list of who I was picking up, and I knew who I was picking up. Every of the other one had, say, like Dana and Greg Newkirk or Calvin Von Crush. So they had the surnames. But for Mary, I didn't know what Mary's surname was, and it was just written on a bit of paper, a flight number, Bloody Mary.
So you could have just gone with Mary and gone, Mary, wherefore thou art thou, Mary?
Exactly. It was.
Instead of having a load of voices shouting out, Scooty, pointing at the nutter over there.
I must admit, I stood there and I did shout Bloody Mary as we thought, me and Calvin believed that it was Bloody Mary that was coming through. But then luckily Calvin took control and actually shouted Mary, because I didn't really want to shout Bloody Mary across Heathrow again, because I did get some funny looks.
I can imagine the pair of them, because Calvin, having listened to Calvin on one of the interviews, I can imagine the pair of them were like a pair of kids in that airport waiting for Bloody Mary.
Yeah, we were.
I can imagine it got very silly.
Yeah.
A bit like the show then.
Calvin was the easiest one to recognise. Because
Mm-hmm.
Calvin was the easy one, and he recognised me as well because MJ sends over a photograph to him. So, but I must admit, Bloody Mary was quite interesting to shout that out.
I still think you should have done that 3 times in the airport.
Well, we talked about it, and we were saying, well, if it was only that easy, well, we have to say Bloody Mary 3 times and she appears, because that would have worked so much easier.
Who is Bloody Mary meant to be?
Bloody Mary is Bloody Mary, the Voodoo Queen.
Ah, right, okay.
The Voodoo Queen.
Yeah, and she goes by Bloody Mary. Yeah, of New Orleans. Original voodoo priestess. Family's been in New Orleans for as old as America. And she goes by Bloody Mary, so she's used to it, but I don't think people in the arrival hall of Heathrow Terminal 3 at 7 o'clock in the morning was expecting some fat bloke shouting Bloody Mary at the top of his voice.
Oh my God.
You could just see the armed guards twitching.
Yeah. Nutter alert! Nutter alert! So, it's a little early for this, but we've got a nutter in the house.
Yeah.
Now, I know the Law Brothers did a video on Bloody Mary. They did a fantastic, vlog. We'll call it a vlog. It wasn't a documentary. It weren't long enough for that, but it was a vlog on it. Did an incredible job on that. And they did do the ritual in a proper way. They do work it. They do know how to work in witchy, we'll call it witchy ways. And they then did a circle with candles and tried to make communication with Bloody Mary. And they did get some interesting candle play, the flame on the candle when they were talking to allegedly her. What did we make of that one? Do we think that, or do we think that it was just coincidence and the candle thing? And...
Mark, you can answer that one, and then I'll answer it.
I'm always. How can I put it? That's like a thing I shared on my Facebook about somebody taking a photo and they swore there was an angel there. But when you look at the photo and you put it onto Photoshop and zoom in, you can see it's been added. But they're adamant it wasn't added and there's nothing being used and this, that, and the other. And I'm not going to name names or anything like that because it's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's entirely up to you. But that's the kind of nonsense that gives us paranormal investigators a bad name. Things like that, sometimes it could be movements off camera that you can't see it's affecting it, because I've seen that myself when I've moved even slightly, and it could be different air currents. So could it even be, and I don't mean this in a rude way, somebody near the candle letting a little quiet one slip out and it's affected the candle. You never know. If there was any blue flame, definitely. But I'm always sceptical about things like that.
I think my notice if it turned into a blue flame. I think.
Can you imagine that? Give me my eyebrow!
It'd be like a Bunsen burner going on.
My eyebrow's gone.
No, I think you do have to be careful. I think candles are very easily the candle
They're very
flame.
easily manipulated. Yeah.
Well, when you look at, you have to look at sometimes how the candle was made, with the wax and the wick. It's not air current. You mentioned air current. I do think people have to take that into consideration a lot. But there was something that was strange. Now, sorry.
That's all right. I completely agree with you on that front, because unless you're in an environment where, like a sterile environment, where you've stopped any wind flow going into it, and you know how evenly the candle burns, because obviously when you burn a candle as it goes down, as Kerry's just said about the wax contents, it also what the wick is made of, you do get that. So you probably would need to do some testing on different way candles burns before you know that. And then just react to that. But like you said, there was some other things that were interesting in when they did the experiment.
But I've done it and I didn't get anything.
Yeah. Candles is, like I said, candles is always a difficult one, because you might not think you might think you're in a room that has no air current, no windows, but it just takes the littlest of breeze, breath, whatever, to affect a candle.
Exactly. I'm just going to go mute for a minute.
No worries.
So the next one I want to talk about is the librarian. He didn't even mute, did he?
No, he didn't.
I did. Did I just sneeze down the mic? Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Don't you just love live radio?
Well, there you go. See, now you know it's live, right?
So the next one I want to talk about is the librarian game that was discussed. Now, this is where you sign your name in blood in a book, then you wait for the spirit to appear. Right, any old book. Is this any old book? Because it didn't state what kind of book. Was it a blank book? Was it like what kind of book was it? It could be the Kama Sutra, like Mark says, or it could have been, Janet and John book.
Oh my God.
Janet and John.
Peter and Jane.
Then we've gone from the Kama Sutra to Janet and John.
My brain I was trying to pick up something completely different.
Yeah.
So you sign your name
I've
in
never
blood.
heard of this.
I've never heard of this one. I hadn't heard of half of these, though, to be fair. You sign your name in blood inside a book and you wait for the spirit to appear. Now, the spirit will then ask you a question. It will say, what is the most powerful weapon? And your reply should be knowledge. Then you have to stab the book with a knife, and then you have to burn everything, otherwise you're cursed.
Burn everything or just burn the book?
Well, it says in the video, it says you have to burn everything.
which is anything that you used in the ritual you have to burn.
There's got to be more to that ritual than that, surely.
Yeah, because I don't really that particular scenario I've heard in various different ways of doing it, and it comes back to the whole Ouija board or talking board, because they talk about if there's a bad spirit, you burn it and blah blah blah, then the Ouija board then reappears, etc. Which is, I think, is complete mumbo jumbo. But the ritual of writing something, you then you wait for it, you then stab it, etc., etc. It sounds a bit like out of Harry Potter when he stabbed it with the basilisk tooth.
Oh yes,
through Riddle's diary, where it was cut. Similar thing. He was writing something in, and then the spirit or the ghost of they wrote back. It's exactly the same scenario.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of it out there. I think a lot of them are probably based on proper rituals. I've seen, going back to recently, seeing a ritual being done, and like you say, you write something on a bit of paper, you then burn it. I saw that getting done as part of a ritual, so I think there's a lot of these games have some sort of basing from, as we say, the witchy ways or whatever you want to call it, where things are done in a certain way, and I think they've then just gone off in tangents, a bit like Mark's mind sometimes.
Mind?
And I think that's
what mind?
Exactly. I used the wrong word there. But I think it's the same sort of thing. You have it's like the famous thing about urban myths. A friend of a friend did a Ouija board. They broke the glass and then they died. So it's the whole urban myth. So there's a
basis, like the nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a basis around it, and it's like Chinese whispers. It just gets different and different and different over time.
It seems a very short ritual, though, that if he only asks you one question, what's the most powerful weapon, and you go, knowledge, that's it. You know, there must be more to it than that.
You're supposed to, if you say you're supposed to be gifted with vast knowledge, but it eventually drives you nuts because you're then twinned with the librarian who drives you nuts. But you've got to remember, over countless centuries, the act of actually writing something down or writing a name down or forming some sort of pact and then burning it seals it for good. And that's a very, very powerful symbolism.
Yeah, totally agree. We still use that today, or that's still talked about today. And you know, even down to writing it on a bay leaf and then burning the bay leaf, or, you know, as you said, writing it down and then burning your intention, sending it out to your message to the universe. I mean, very famous story of Noel Edmonds, who hadn't been on television for years and years and years. And he reckoned he had read something called The Secret. It's a book called The Secret, Power of Manifestation. And he wanted to be back on television, but wasn't getting any breaks. He wasn't getting anybody interested in that. And he says he did this ritual where he wrote down that he wanted to be back on television, burnt it, sent it off to the universe, and then about a week later he got offered the...
I'm a celeb.
No.
Open the box.
The box one, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that thing. But then over the first couple of series, he had symbols written on his hands to justify or to honour, or I don't know what sort of word it is, just to prove for because he believed in this ritual he did, got him back on TV, and I know for at least 2 or 3 series there was symbols or a symbol written on his hand or was on his card or on something that he had when he was doing the show.
Well, we know somebody else very famous that used to have symbols written on his hand to help him get through some of the challenges he would set himself, and that's David Blaine. There's a very famous interview, and he had the eye. Do you remember the eye written on his hand? And every time, what was it, Eamon Holmes asked him a question, he just showed him his hand, didn't he? Which had an eye with a dot in the middle, like an iris. Yeah. It symbolised the evil.
Protected. protection. A funny story about David Blaine. I was working in London when he was doing the challenge where he was in the perspex box on the bank.
Yeah.
And I remember because I had to walk past because it was between the tube station and where I worked.
In London.
And it's so weird. Like you'd leave work and you see this bloke in a box, and you think, what's he doing?
People were chucking burgers up to him and everything.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There was people throwing cheeseburgers because there was a McDonald's across the road. Literally, they'd go in, buy some cheeseburgers, and throw it at this perspex box. Yeah. And you'd see like a bit of cheese or a hamburger and a bun stuck to the box.
Just like sliding down the box.
So every so often, some bloke had to go up there and like squeeze you and wash down this perspex box.
But look at the feats of achievement he's done. Now, you know, we talk about being able to psychologically set yourself, your mindset, you know, is incredibly important. In both instances, like when you're working a ritual, the mindset that you go into a ritual with is incredibly important. You have to be completely focused on the intention of the work that you're doing. In the same way, he has to be completely mindset and mind over matter as well, because he's got to overcome physical
he's done the ice challenge where he was in a block of ice for 2 or 3 days, buried alive. Also,
had an interview
and wonderful things the guy's done. So I think you have to get in tune and like center, and obviously it's a magic trick. It's obviously some sort of trick, as they say, and there's obviously other things that are involved. But he's a showman, he is a magician. But yeah, you obviously, if you're going to get cocooned in blocks of ice for 3 days. In just your Speedos, so you're going to need to be able to center yourself.
Oh, look, a budgie smuggler! But it's so cold in there, it's now just an ant smuggler.
Sorry, now I'm sneezing. Now I'm sneezing down the mic. So, but it is about mind. Now, Mark, you've gone through some pretty strenuous physical endurances, isn't it, with some of the training that you've been through. And even down to some of the training that you've done in regards to martial arts, you've gone through that mindset, haven't you? How hard is it then to get yourself into that mindset?
I used to find it incredibly difficult purely because with my mindset, because of why trying to focus chi to decide that you don't normally use, I found it extremely difficult to do. And even when you're doing like punching buckets of warm and hitting shins with a stick and rolling it up and down shins to harden them up and stuff. Literally, it was the hardest thing was the chi work, and then you had to do the chi work before we did the breaking, because I could break with my little hand as well. Take my little hand. It's my strong hand. You know. But trying to get the chi into that hand before I did it, I mean, the amount of times I've nearly broken something, it's unbelievable. But it took a long, long time for me to be able to get over that barrier and be able to push it down into that side. So we've spoken about that before as well, haven't we?
We have spoken about that before, and we've talked quite extensively about that, and the challenges you've actually had to overcome physically, within yourself. Because of the, I think sometimes we talk about physical restraints on us. I know we're kind of getting off topic of the games, but it's all about mindset, isn't it? About how you approach things, and when you look at what you overcome within yourselves, sometimes to deal with any challenge in life, the biggest battle 9 times out of 10 is the battle within your head.
Yep.
I'd say after all the stuff that's happened to my family over the last few years, bouncing back and coming back and being nuttier than I used to be, that was the biggest challenge, not just for myself, but for my missus and my family and all my friends who knew what we went through. And now seeing how I am now, they're like, Jesus, what the hell? So, it was that's a strong battle to overcome.
Well, yeah, definitely. So when you look at somebody like David Blaine, yes, he's an illusionist, yes, he's a magician, but the feats he's done are beyond that, aren't they?
But has he got a strong hand? No, he hasn't. Has he ever stuffed the shit out of this turkey? No, he hasn't. He likes to baste it first, we know. But why have that magic eye tattooed on your hand or drawn on your hand for a flipping interview on GMTV? He's done all those other things, and yet he sat there and went, no, and shoved his hand in his face.
But think about the publicity that he got off the back of that for the stunt he was about to do. If he was already getting himself into that mindset, and wanted to create the maximum publicity for that, which is obviously at the end of the day he's driving the stunts for money and sponsorship and stuff like that, isn't he?
At
the end of the day that's his job. If that is a pretty damn good publicity stunt in itself, and to use that symbol as well, which is the protection symbol. Now, you could argue, at the time people were saying he was protecting himself from Eamon Holmes. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't actually see Eamon. He's so evil and such a threat. But it might have been he needed to protect his mindset, which is why he was doing that, because some of the questions that were being asked were too probing for what he needed to answer, which would have broken his mindset.
Or, and I'm just going to put this one out there, he may have been coming across as a bit of a pompous arse. You never know.
Well, yeah, there's always that possibility, guys.
I'll give him a cheeseburger. He'll be all right.
Right, now there is one which I really didn't get.
Space Eater one.
Right, I didn't get the elevator to another dimension. Now, you need a 10-story building for this one. You need an elevator.
Have you? Because she's talking about riding elevators to other dimensions, ladies and gentlemen. I think she's been hitting something there.
No, this is a game. You've got a 10-story building with an elevator. You need this for this one.
Yeah.
And you have to do it in this sequence. You have to press the buttons in this sequence: 2, 4, 6, 2, 10, and 5.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one either.
I've heard of this, and I'm not going to lie. I have tried it in several buildings where you have to like hit the combinations on the lift. You obviously have to make sure that you try to make sure nobody actually gets in the lift, because it kind of ruins it.
Well, once you've done the sequence and you hit floor 5, a woman is actually supposed to get in. So if you've done this sequence in this building, Carl, and nobody got on until 5, and then a lone woman got on, I bet you cacked your pants.
I've tried. I've done it probably 5 or 6 times. I used to do it when I worked for the BBC, because I used to get into one of the buildings.
You had a BBC?
Where I worked, and getting very early, and nobody used to ride the lift a lot, and I did used to do it. I think
you could just stare there, can't you, on his way to work, going, do you know what?
Just pressing buttons.
No, yeah. I'm quite happy to admit that I have done that in the past.
And this is what your taxpayers' money goes for.
His boss is saying to him, God, it takes him ages to get the lift to work. It's only like a 10-second journey, and it takes him bloody half hour.
The strange thing was I didn't actually need to get into the lift, because
I
was on the ground floor.
He's just playing in the lift again, folks.
Yeah, but I must admit I have tried it, and I do remember. Where was it? It was. I think it was a hotel in. I think it was a hotel in Liverpool, and we've been talking about this. I remember it was called something else. It wasn't like Portal to Another Dimension. This was like the famous thing about. I think it was at the time. You remember the lady that rode the lift that freaked out, and then she was found a few years later in the water tank in America.
Oh, yes. Was that the Black Dahlia?
No. This was probably in the early 2000s. This woman on camera was acting very, very strange.
Chinese lady, wasn't she?
Yeah. She was acting very like somebody was following her, and she kept on stopping on floors and panicking and looking out the lift and doing everything. She was acting very, very strange. She then gets seen getting off on a particular floor, and then she was never seen again. And then a few years later, some people started to get ill in the hotel.
Yeah.
And then they traced it to the water supply. So they went to the water tank and found her dead body in the water tank. And but nobody knows how she got up there. Nobody knows how she died.
Because it was in an arse of a place to get to as well.
Yeah, you couldn't actually get there. You couldn't actually, and I remember we were talking about this because it was sort of hit.
Elisa Lam.
That's it. Yeah,
Elisa Lam.
Elisa Lam.
2013 when it happened. It was just in downtown LA.
It's one of these things that is an unsolved strange mystery. Funny enough, the guy that we're talking about, he did a top 10 of strange videos, that the last seen videos of people that then died. And I can remember we were discussing it, and I think it was in Liverpool we were in, and we did something, and I basically did the whole lift game, and somebody did get on when you got to a certain number, and I didn't freak out, but I did look at him very closely as we came back down, thinking if he turns around and whatever, and I was like cowed in a corner. But I did know that game.
We did a show, didn't we, discussing different dimensions and stuff. And do you remember we were talking about a lady who was with her son who got in a lift in a busy department store?
We were talking about the Men in Black.
Yeah. And when the doors opened, she was like in a massive foyer of a train station or something.
That's right. She was in a department store.
That's right.
She was riding the lift. She then disappeared for a number of hours.
Yeah.
And then she reappeared, and she said that she got to a point where the lift doors opened and it was a railway station. Nobody would talk to her. Yeah. And she wandered around for ages.
And she saw a kid. She saw a little boy, didn't she?
Said, "You could see me."
Yeah.
But nobody else seemed to.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe somebody was playing with the buttons of the lift at the time.
And she just inadvertently stepped into the game without even realising she was part of the game.
You never know, because I have done that in the past where you get out of the lift and you push the buttons.
Do you know, I used to live, as you know, in a block of flats or apartments. I used to live in a block in London, and I would get so angry because the bloody kids... You'd go to get your lift, and it would stop at every starting floor. Not once, not twice, but about 3 bloody times. And you're there, standing in this lift on your own, swearing like mad.
I still do it. I did it in Vegas.
That's you, was it?
Ago. I did it in Vegas a month ago, where I got out of the lift and I just went like that and got out of the lift.
Such a bunch of kids I work with. Such a bunch of kids. And you wonder why I don't go out, people.
Yeah, you don't want to ride lifts. You enter into a different dimension.
Yeah, well, you're banned from everywhere, Kerry. That's why you don't go out anywhere.
Don't tell them the real reason I don't go out, Mark. Come on.
I mean, heaven forbid, you know. God, it's a woman from American Horror Story. Don't let her in here again. You know what she did last time. Don't let her near the candles either.
I do have to say, lifts can be quite awful places in themselves, can't they, to be fair?
Especially
but is that though? Because if it breaks, you're in a lift shaft. You're reliant on just a cord, like a. I mean, okay, it's a big thick cord, but it's not the point. It could drop. You're in a closed box. You've got limited air. It's a freaky thing, isn't it? A lift, really.
Yeah. Well, obviously, most modern lifts have the automatic brake, so if a cable breaks, it will still stop because it clamps onto it as a fail-safe. But you think there's still some old hotels where they have that centre lift where you get into basically a wooden box, and you just literally just shut like a shutter, and then you go up in the lift. Yeah. And if they break, you're a goner. And even the urban myth of just before you hit the ground, jump in the air and you'll survive, I don't think would work either. But
the timing of that would have to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. You need to know that you were how far off the ground and when you hit the ground to jump. And to be truthfully honest, my philosophy is if a lift crashes and it hits the ground, the roof is, because of momentum, the roof of the lift is going to come down. So if you're jumping up, you're going to get hit by the lift, the roof of the lift.
You're going to get crushed over by the roof.
Exactly.
Or the impact,
It's it's the same thing about when you're on planes, when you're about to do an emergency landing, they tell you to stick your head between your legs. What is that going to do when a plane?
Do you know why? Do you know why?
You ask goodbye.
No. Because I'll let Kerry.
Because
it might be the same thing. I don't know, but it's a very good reason.
Well, the thing is, if you're in a plane that's about to crash, you're going to die. So if you put your head between your legs, then your neck will break. So it'll actually kill you quicker and more painlessly than if you were sat up.
You put your hand on the back of your head. Yeah.
Because it's a way of... so you break your own neck, but it's better than dying in an inferno of a plane crash, right?
Yeah. I'd still like to take my chances. I wouldn't want... No,
my superpower would save me.
I'll take my chances. I think I'll take
my superpowers would save me.
Because you hear about these wonder stories of plane crashes where everybody dies apart from this one person, so there's always a chance.
Maybe that one camera's panned around and out of smoking mass and ruins comes a tattered and smoking Carl Hutchinson looking smug.
With his cigar.
With me Jack Daniels in one hand and a cigar in another. Yeah, that'll be me.
Oh, my lordy lord. I don't actually know how real that is. I don't know if that is actually, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah. I've never heard that. I've heard some funny stories from that. Because at the end of the day, that's okay if you're in where you've got a seat in front of you. But what happens if you don't have a seat in front of you?
And stick your head in the seat and your ass against the window.
Yeah, then you are just kissing it goodbye.
Yeah, you just turn around in your seat and put your head against the seat, I suppose.
Don't know.
What is he doing?
It's like the old adage, the plane's going to crash and you've got like an 18-year-old virgin on there who stands up and screams, before I die, I want to be made a real woman. Will some gentleman here help me? So some bloke takes your shirt off and hands it to her and says, just sign this for me, please, love. So, it's, yeah.
Bad joke.
That's such a dad joke as well.
Oh, my Lord.
Such a dad joke.
Mr. Paul Stevenson will be proud of you for that dad joke, is all I'm going to say. Oh, dear. Right, so last but not least, the one we're going to discuss is the Midnight Man. Now, this is where you write your name on a piece of paper and add a drop of blood. There's a common theme here. Blood is a theme, candles are a theme, times are a theme.
Writing's a thing.
All this. Right, you have to turn off all the lights, obviously, and have a candle. And knock on the wood 22 times. But the 22nd knock, you're like, when you get to 22, it's got to be on the stroke of midnight. Right? Not before, not after, but on the stroke of midnight. Okay, and then you have to avoid the Midnight Man after conjuring him up. You then have to avoid him until 3:33 a.m. So only 3.5 and a bit hours. Now, if your candle goes out, or you get a strange smell, or you get a sense of presence, then he's getting close. And all you have to do to avoid him is draw a salt circle and stay in there until 3:33 a.m.
I think this is another one that is based on probably some sort of ritual.
Something been watching Supernatural.
Or Supernatural's been taking, same as what we discussed about there, Harry Potter. They use the same sort of thing with the writing in blood, blah, blah, with the book. And I think this is also something that as we always say, and we do the marks in the air, the witchy ways, some sort of ritual that was probably done at some point and it's been passed down. And all of a sudden it's a game for children.
Also, at the end of the day, I mean, for a start, I mean, how bloody stupid have you got to be able to do that? And why on earth would somebody sit there and think, do you know what? I'm so bored. Do you know what I'm going to do today, lads? I've got a good idea. Let's summon an entity from another dimension who's going to scare the living out of us. And to be fair, this Midnight Man, he gets summoned so many times, no one talks to him and they ignore him. No wonder he's peed off.
Yeah, but also that means you've got to walk around for 3 hours 33 minutes.
No,
with salt in your pocket.
With your salt in your pocket, in case he does find you.
Is that assault with a deadly weapon? Aha!
But surely, if you're trying to conjure up a entity, we'll call them entities because, or the Midnight Man or whatever you want to put on them, then surely the point is you want to interact.
Yeah.
Do you reckon some of them are aliens?
I mean, when I was at the Nameless Art Conference, David Rankin was talking, and he's an actual occult practitioner. And people were saying, like, afterwards they did a question and answer session, and they said, like, does it work? And he was like, yeah. He said, what's amazing to me is that when people do ritual work and things start happening, like you start getting noises or strange smells or things happen around you, he said, that's their way of, like, telling you that they're there. You've conjured that, and then people go, oh, no, banish. But that's the point of it. And actually, while I was listening to him talking like this, I was thinking, why don't people use more ritual work, then, in paranormal investigations? If things like that do start happening, why do people not start doing more ritual work in paranormal investigations? I mean, you've just seen Dana and Greg Newkirk at the thing, and Dana works in that way, doesn't she?
Correct. And as we said, obviously, I saw Dana, and she works in that way, and she does. And one of the things that I was really interested with, we after the convention, we went to do a little bit of investigation, just myself, MJ, Greg, and excuse me, Greg and Dana Duncan, and we went to a place, and we're doing a normal paranormal investigation with some of the equipment and EVP session, and then Dana was then explaining that she uses cards.
Yeah, she uses tarot.
Yeah,
she uses tarot.
And I'd seen a little bit on Hellier, but to actually witness it and then to hear the reasons behind it, and it all makes sense. And also, obviously, before Sage Paracon started, Bloody Mary did a ritual and opened the door. And then she on the last day, closed the door. So did Bloody Mary doing that ritual make the investigation that we had on the first night after she'd done the ritual more active? It does make you think.
I see why not.
But when I work,
it does make you think.
Well, when I go out into the field, guys, I work in a very spiritual way, and in a funny kind of way. It's like a mini little ritual that I do. I mean, Carl's only seen a little mini one, but Mark,
that was fascinating. But that was fascinating what you did in the bunker, because I was getting on modern day paranormal equipment. I was getting anomalies which I couldn't understand while you were doing the crystal work, because it wasn't showing up.
Yeah,
you should have seen the grid that she did in an abandoned RAF village. Though that was a very impressive grid.
Thank you very much.
That's what that's what you did in the bunker.
Very similar. I did a bit more of a ritual in the abandoned place, and then obviously when we was at the Harwich Readout, I talked about that with Penny on Wednesday. Or next Wednesday. Sorry, I've already done that show, but that plays out next week. Oh, it's all very confusing. I'm very confused at the moment, everybody. I don't know what day I'm on.
It's Friday.
I know it's
and you're
Friday.
on the dark. And you're on the dark.
Somebody get her pills for her.
Honestly, I don't know, but I've already pre-recorded that show. That gets played out on Wednesday, and if you listen to that, it was Mark was there on that one, and we had an incredibly active evening that evening, didn't we, Mark? Was it the ritual that was done, or was it just an active night in that particular location? Who knows? It is incredibly interesting. But one thing is for sure, I mean, I know I'm going out on Saturday evening, tomorrow evening, investigating. I don't know where, everybody. It's a surprise, apparently, but I've got a fair idea I'm going out investigating. And I'm actually going to take my cards, which I've not done. I've actually not used my tarot cards in an investigation, but having watched Hellier, because obviously I've not had the pleasure of meeting Greg and Dana, I'm actually going to try doing that, because I've read cards for 35 years and I've not brought them into the investigation yet, but I'm going to have a go at it to see what happens. and work, the way I would normally work in the investigation. So, that's going to be absolutely fascinating to me to see how that works in that environment. So, yeah, so it's all of these things that we're talking about, these, and I'm going to air quote, games, I would actually go, they're not games. Don't play around with forces you don't understand.
No. That's just
even if they're like, you think, no, that can't possibly happen. You don't know what could happen. So if you're going to work any form of, even a basic form of ritual, which a lot of these do sound like, which we've been talking about throughout the evening, be very, very careful, just in case, because you just don't know. And any practitioner of the occult talks about the importance of mindset, the importance of setting boundaries, the importance of knowing you're the one in control of them and them not in control of you, and closing properly too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they say on the things on TV, don't try this at home.
Mm-hmm. But if you do know what you're doing and you do try these kind of experiments in the field, why not introduce it? If you know what you're doing and you know how it works and you know what you're doing with it, why not try it in a paranormal investigation? Very interesting topic, though. Anyway, we've come to the end of the show, guys.
Hours fly so quickly.
Yes, they do.
They do.
They?
I'm actually thinking about if young Miss Kerry there would like to try her cards on an investigation one day. I reckon that'd be very interesting to see, because having worked with Kerry lots of times and seen her work with grids, I'd be very intrigued to see what her work with the cards would be like. Because I know what Kerry's gift is like for the cards as well. So I think that'd be very good.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I'm taking them with me tomorrow. It's a surprise. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a fair idea it's out investigating because I've been told to dress warmly and wear a bobbly hat. In fact, that's all I've been told, is to wear a hat. So I'm tempted to go naked with just a hat.
What, and nothing else? Jesus Christ, you're going to scam people.
Not in the weather outside, Kerry. I would not.
So you're going to eat somebody's car window.
Yeah, you'd be cutting windows open if you do go out naked.
But I will let you all know once that's happened exactly what I did get up to and what kind of results I managed to get on this investigation. If it is an investigation, I'm assuming it is. I've just been told to dress warmly.
You never know. It might not be an investigation. It could be. It could be human trafficking, and next thing you wake up in an orange boiler suit.
He's going jogging. Oh God.
Well, we're not being funny. With the friends that I'm going with, I'm actually going out with my normal Muggle friends. I class them as my Muggle friends. These are my normal, the ones I normally go out getting drunk with. But we're not going out getting drunk. So I've been told it's not clubbing, it's not anything to do with pubs, and to dress warmly. And so I'm assuming that they're actually doing an investigation with me. So anyway, we shall see. It's all a big surprise. I've got quite a lot of things that I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm being taken out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, when Kerry does her roundup on Monday, if she's in an orange boiler suit and got a bit of a suntan, we know she's in Cuba and Guantanamo Bay.
Anyway, on that note, we have come to the end of the show. Last words, my beautiful men?
I'm just remember, I've got a long drive to Somerset and back this weekend. I don't want anybody trying to get hold of me saying, "Can we do a pop-up show?" So just be careful.
I don't think that's going to happen this weekend, Mark. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be doing that. I haven't done that for ages, actually.
If you're that cold that you're going to key somebody's windows, just remember, take my strong nipple. It's my strong nipple, my little one.
Oh, God. Carl, any last words?
I don't know how I can follow that. It's just, I hope you've enjoyed the show. And we'll be back, hopefully, if we've not been arrested, confined in an orange boiler suit or in a straitjacket or being committed for crimes that he committed when he was 5. We'll be back next week. And
we haven't mentioned Carl's bestiality charges either, but we'll do that for later date.
And on that bombshell, say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.